and we are launching.
Everybody riot, organized chaos, nobody quiet. We gon' try a seance. Communication and communion with the world's greatest icon. Station as a human, yet he's listening to my song. I've joined this that no nigga with the bass and the bang. Make it do, yo, hit you with the five elements like five elephants. Let him know I'm relevant. I'm heaven sent, telling him we're from a whole nother galaxy. I'm actually.
I was wondering how many times Ruben was going to say we're launching before he played that fucking theme song. All right, we are live on HamiltonRadio.net, channel HR2. I am your host, John Brecco, and you'll notice from what my background looks like that it looks a little bit different from the past couple of weeks. I'm back at home because I got a very, very special guest that works in the studio with me, the host of the afternoon show, The Pit Stop with Pete Cato. We got the man himself in here. Pete Cato, bro, how you been feeling since the
tired, man. It's been a long day already.
Yeah,
long day already.
I'll tell you what, when we were on the air today, I had people text in, different country names, and whatever country name somebody texted in, Pete had to tell a story about it. I got a fucking headache from all the countries people texted in, man. Oh, that was intense. I'm telling you. But yeah, it's been a long day for sure. Been, an eventful last month for me because, me, you too, because we both just got started at pop radio and, it's been an adjustment for me driving there, getting used to doing news, having all of it, pretty much on me and,
living working that commuter lifestyle.
Bro, I'm telling you. Yeah, crazy, man. But, how did it even start, for you with Mike? Because for me, I pretty much got let go from Amazon. Then I was out looking for a job. A couple weeks after that, I started talking to Mike, and, the conversations obviously went well, and the rest is history. And I met you the first day I was there. So how did it go for you? I know you flew in from North Dakota because Mike, I get bits and pieces from Mike, but.
Yeah. Well, when I first moved back to the U.S., I took a job at a station in North Dakota.
Right.
And after 3.5 years there, I realized, I hadn't really improved my position. I wanted to move back to the U.S. I wanted to be closer to my family. And, North Dakota is basically a foreign country. So.
How's it been, being closer to your family since you moved back? Because you grew up in D.C., right?
Yeah. It's been really nice. I'm now, like a 2.5-hour drive from the majority of my family. They all live in the D.C. area. Younger sister still lives in the city. Younger brother lives right across the river in Alexandria. Father and stepmother live right outside in Maryland. They got a younger sister in Jacksonville, Florida. I got an older sister in Charleston, South Carolina. But that, still where I am now is a lot closer than where I was. So
yeah, but the majority
it's civilization, man.
Yeah. No,
I have DoorDash here. I can get anything delivered to me. I can get Wawa delivered 24 hours a day.
Look, man. Honestly, you should talk a little bit about North Dakota, though, because honestly, just the internet bill is enough for me every time. But
North Dakota, I'll start off as long as you stay away from politics and religion, the people of North Dakota are pretty cool. Yeah, but once you start talking politics and religion, man, people can go off the deep end real fast. But unfortunately, North Dakota is still kind of a small step back in time.
Yeah.
Like I told you, my internet service provider didn't even have an option for me to pay online.
That's what I wanted to hear.
My internet service provider, I had to write them a check every month, put it into an envelope, address it, put a stamp on it, and put it in a mailbox like it's 1978. Their whole website, you go to their website and it says call for service.
And now you work at a station where all the music you can find is from 1978.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
I mean, well, that's the music I grew up with.
Yeah. I mean, I feel
grew
like
up,
it was.
I grew up Gen X. So I grew up with my mom and my dad playing a lot of 60s and 70s growing up. And then,
Right.
I kind of hit my teenage years in the 80s. That's when I started buying my own records. And,
Gotcha.
So that's where we are
I mean,
now. Yeah, I listen to music now, and I can 90% of the songs, can take me back to a certain place or time or event. Yeah, I mean, I could listen to some of the songs. And I'm like, man, I made out with Lourdes Prado to that song at the spring formal, and when I was in 10th grade.
I love it. But what were some of the songs that you were buying records from in the 80s? Because you just mentioned that. So give me a couple examples, man.
I went down the rabbit hole, the hair metal bands of the 80s.
I like it.
I mean, I was buying Rat, Poison, Motley Crue.
Okay.
Asia, Journey. Yeah, I mean, I was full 80s. But the flip side of the coin, I also had Wham, I had Cyndi Lauper. I really I had The Cure, I had Smiths, I had, I mean, my musical taste was always all over the place. Rush, for a little prog rock.
Right. I
So,
mean, did it ever change after the 80s, or is that pretty much what you stuck to?
yeah, I still listen to everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I will never say I listen to one particular genre of music.
Right.
I mean, I've got favorite artists, and again, they're across the board. I've got favorite songs, but again, they defy. But it was interesting because growing up in the 80s, if you watch 80s movies, man, it was all about cliques in high school.
Right.
One of the things that no 80s film ever actually captured was the cliques were also very divided by music.
Okay.
I mean, jocks and cheerleaders always listen to whatever was top 40 pop at the time.
Okay.
Then you had the skaters, and they were punk, and then you had what would now be considered emo kids, who were the pseudo goths, who were in Susie and the Banshees and the Smiths and the Cure.
Gotcha.
Stuff like that. And then you had you had the rockers, and they were into Metallica, Megadeth, that kind of stuff.
Of course.
So,
all right. So I mean, because the reason why I ask is because I know you love your country too. You always the main person I associate with you
music,
as
man.
far as
Anybody who tells you they don't like country music is lying.
I know.
They feel like country music is some kind of shame, or it's dirty or something at this point. But I mean, people fail to realize, or people forget that rock and roll wasn't even a musical genre until the mid to late 50s, when Alan Freed, who was a radio DJ back in the day, coined the term rock and roll. But up until that point, every artist that you consider rock and roll today from that era, Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, Elvis, all those guys, they were country up until Alan Freed came up with the expression rock and roll.
Yeah, and then there was country music with Johnny Cash back in the day too, along with all those guys.
Johnny Cash, man.
Exactly. If you've seen Walk the Line, you love Johnny Cash. That's all I got to say about that.
If you've heard one song by Johnny Cash, you love Johnny Cash.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that goes without saying, though.
Dolly Parton is a queen, man. I mean, tell me you don't like country music, and then cue up Jolene, and everybody's singing along to that one.
You know what I noticed though? When people tell me they don't like country music, what they associate it with is all these different sad love songs, and then I just sit here and start thinking, have you ever heard a fucking Drake song before? It's the same thing. I mean, it really is.
Everybody's got their whiny, mopey songs. It just depends. These days it's a lot of how many beats per minute you got in it. But a lot of the lyrics of today's, especially today's R&B. If you listen to the lyrics, man, it's depressing as shit.
That's true.
But you listen to some of today's country artists, who stay true to what country music really means. You know, you listen to Chris Stapleton, man, that guy's fantastic.
What the Buck is probably my new favorite song by him.
I love that track, man.
I got to be honest with you.
It pissed off everybody in North Dakota.
If anyone in North Dakota finds this shit and doesn't like the fact that What the Buck is my favorite country song, I just want to tell you, buck you.
Right?
But
I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved it for the double entendre because I knew it would piss a lot of people off, and I like to shake shit up. But also, it was ironic that, you know, people who were listening to our station, you know, were supposed to be like, you know, these true classic country fans who didn't like, you know, the new country. And, you know, that song is actually literally making fun of new country.
yeah,
And they still didn't like the song because, you know, again, they thought they heard a bad word, but there's no actual like bad word in the song.
yeah, like I guarantee you, none of them actually took the time out to listen how it's making fun of hip hop beats and country music and all other kinds of shit that's been happening to it.
Yeah, all that Dan and Shay and Little Big Town and that's just garbage, man.
Oh man,
I mean, honestly, I'd rather get throat punched than listen to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
But it's,
no,
you know, a lot. You know, I feel the same way about a lot of today's hip hop. So
you grew up with the classic stuff, so it makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense, honestly. But you know, like we mentioned earlier, you know, you've been to a lot of different places. That's why I came up with the topic I did today. But I'll get a little bit more into that later. I actually want to know how you got into radio because I don't think it started with going to Finland, going to Russia. I feel like it started a little bit before that. So,
yeah,
you know, how
I mean,
did you even get into it?
man. I mean, I grew up on radio. You know, I mean, I
Yeah.
grew up with like, you know, the old school grandparents who, you know, sat around listening to the radio, not watching TV.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they didn't have it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I grew up like, you know, idolizing like these radio people who just, you know, could, you know, not only like, you know, spin tails and make you feel like you were there, but man, they really shook the system, man.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, like, you know, if you go back to the days of like, you know, Rohan O'Reilly and Emperor Roscoe, you know, I mean, those guys, man, those like, you know, when BBC, you know, the official British stations, you know, and at that point, the only British stations wouldn't play rock and roll, you know, these guys, you know, bought an old crappy boat and a broadcasting system, parked the boat, you know, just outside of British waters, but still close enough that their signal could be heard in London, and started playing rock and roll. And I mean, these guys, wait, can we curse here?
yeah, I've already done it.
All right, these guys just gave like a big fuck you to the British government. Like, you know, we're in international waters. You can't fucking touch us. We can broadcast whatever the fuck we want. And they did. And these guys were fucking heroes, man. I mean, like, you know, like literally girls were like, you know, throwing themselves in boats and going out there to meet these guys, you know, these DJs and stuff, man. You know, and then you get into like, you know, the early days of Howard Stern, you know, Don Imus before he turned into a bitter old racist. You know, even like, you know, guys like, you know, Casey Case, Rick Dees, man. You know, these guys were, you know, back in their day, man. And again, deferring to Alan Freed, you know, the guy who coined the term rock and roll, you know, this guy actually hosted he had a once a week show on CBS. It was like a little dance party where he was like, you know, the DJ, and he had people dancing. And he would invite guests on, like, you know, whoever was a hot artist at the time. And then there was a time he had Frankie Lyman on, and they let Frankie Lyman dance with a white girl, and that show got shut down. And this was in the 60s.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Who, again, you know, he bucks the system.
Yeah.
I mean, you still got to remember that, like, you know, there are people whose grandparents were, you know, who are alive today, were alive and socially aware in times, you know, where we still had segregation.
Right.
And this is what I love about, like, you know, boomers and stuff, man, who love to talk about how, like, easily offended, you know, millennials are. You know, I'm not a millennial myself, Gen X.
They're one of the worst ones.
But, you know, they always talk about, well, how easily offended everybody is these days. You know, it's like, seriously, old man? You know, you would freak the fuck out if a colored person drank out of the same water fountain you did. So don't tell me about how easily offended millennials are, man. I mean, literally, y'all melted down if a black woman sat in the front of the fucking bus. So,
I mean, it's all truth, really. And I'm one of the hardest people to offend that I think I know. So, and I've seen so many older cats get offended by things I've said on stage, things I've said to other people. I'm pretty sure I've lost count of how many times I've offended somebody just in the years I've been doing stand-up, let alone throughout my life in general.
the flip side of that coin is I don't understand, people say I'm offended, like that carries some kind of weight. Somebody tells me oh, I'm offended. I'm like, I don't care.
It wasn't
what is your being offended have to do with me?
It wasn't meant.
It wasn't meant what I'm saying. Don't listen to me. End of story.
It wasn't meant to offend you. Pick your big boy or girl pants up, and
don't
move
even
on.
justify, man. Don't even give them the time. Just say, hey, look, man, you're offended. I don't care. I'm not here to cater to your feelings.
I always love it when that one person at a show gets offended at something that's going on, something that somebody says, somebody's act, because we're not there for the one person. If the rest of the crowd is with it, who really gives a shit? There's
always going to be somebody who's offended. And the problem in the 21st century, sadly enough, the internet has given everybody a voice.
Some people don't need it.
So now people can be offended and complain about it, get into chat rooms, go to Facebook, send emails, all that kind of stuff. It used to be back in the day, if you got offended by something on television, you had to sit down, write a letter, put that letter in an envelope, put a stamp on it, mail it off, wait 3 days for it to get there, wait 2 days for them to read it, acknowledge it, and send a response back. And by the time you got a response back, you forgot what the fuck you were offended about in the first place.
Yeah. A lot like when you had to look something up. You went into a rant about this one day.
Yeah.
When you got in an argument with somebody.
Yeah, you had to ride your bike across town to the library on the weekends, look shit up, go back to school on Monday, and be like, "Ha, I was right." And the other person be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
And then you had to remind them and hope. You had to remind them and hope they remembered from there.
We live in a day of instant gratification, and that includes being offended. And people get so bent out of shape these days, man. I mean, you read these horror stories about people losing their goddamn minds in fast food drive-thrus. Where are we as a society that people get pissed that they don't get their dinner in 4 minutes? That's the average drive-through time, man. 4 fucking minutes, and people lose their goddamn minds. Used to be. I mean, you go someplace to pick up your to-go food if you were too lazy to cook. You still had to sit there and wait for them to cook. It'd be like 30 goddamn minutes.
We were talking about
I once saw a guy lose his goddamn mind, and I'm not kidding you, man. I mean, he started screaming at a flight attendant because the Wi-Fi on the airplane was too slow.
You're in the fucking air. You should be happy you even have Wi-Fi.
You should be happy you're in the goddamn air and not taking a cruise ship across the Atlantic, because that trip used to take 2 fucking weeks. Now it takes 10 hours. And you want to bitch about the Wi-Fi? Come on, man. I mean, there are people. See, the problem is there are people out there, who are just their whole thing is just to complain. That's all they want to do. They just sit around and wait to get outraged by something.
You know what's crazy though? This actually happened to me last week, and this conversation actually made me think about it. I like to share the show wherever I can, to make sure it goes out to different people. So, more people can view it, more people can watch it, and more people can let me know what they think. And, there are certain pages that, I won't share it to because people have, asked, this is for certain posts, this is for that, whatever. All I care about is that, I'm literally just asked like a regular person. And the thing with that is it's very easy to, hit share on one thing I'm not supposed to by accident. And I did it for this page called Bad Comedy Flyers. This one dude lost his fucking shit over the fact that I shared it to that page, couldn't believe, I made the mistake, went out of his way, made his morning around telling me how he would never look at my flyer if I actually posted one on the page. You really took that much time out of your day for something you didn't like, really? You hold on. No, this is even better. You looked at it just to tell me you wouldn't look at it. That's basically what happened.
Yeah, and that's something I get all the time, man. I get I get complaints, about shit I said on air. We were like, oh, I'm not listening to Pete Cato because I don't like what he has to say. And then like 3 days later, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe Pete Cato said that on air. It's like, wait, didn't you just say like earlier this week that you weren't listening because you don't like what I had to say? And yet here you are telling me what I had to say today offended you. So yeah.
This was supposed to stop 3 days ago.
Yeah. I mean, how is it you know what I'm talking about today when, you swore you weren't going to listen to me ever again because you didn't like what I said. Yeah, and I love picturing these people like just shaking their fist in like righteous indignation. Yeah.
Oh,
Seriously, man.
Christ.
Right? If you don't like something on TV, switch channel. Yeah. You don't like something on the radio, change the fucking station. You don't like something on an album, don't buy the record. Simple.
Bro, it's easier too. It's the easiest part too to change the radio on the station because TV you got to press a button. Radio you just got to do this. That's it. That's really it. You either got to do that or click off if it's internet radio. Basically all there is to it. But you talked a little bit.
Everybody wants to be outraged these days, man. People want to be outraged by something. They want to be upset by something.
Gives them purpose.
Yeah, for some people, that's all they do is like just sit around and figure out what's going to piss them off. Now they're going to get on the internet and complain about it.
Just anybody that's getting pissed off right now, if that's the case for anybody, I just want you to know Abby's laughing at you in the next room. She said, "Welcome to Yelp." I don't know if you can hear. But
God, Yelp, Jesus. See, honestly, though, I will say Yelp is a platform that needs to go away.
Why is that?
Because it's meaningless at this point. I mean, it's literally it's bullies on there.
All right.
I mean, I got a buddy who owns a restaurant down in Sarasota, Florida. I knew this guy for years in Moscow. He moved back to the U.S. a little bit before I did. Opened up this spot, and by the way, it's an incredible fucking restaurant. I mean, this guy was a huge to-do back in Russia. Yeah, I mean, he had like a chain of like these awesome wood-fired pizza places, these like gourmet burger places. I mean, he was just and he's got this little tiny place, because he sold these places in Moscow. He sold them out before he moved here for billions, and was basically sitting on his ass, and opened up this little restaurant in Sarasota just to give him something to do because he was getting bored every day. But I mean, he was telling me that he had like some guy who came in and like from the get-go demanded free meal for him and 3 of his friends, or he would write him a shitty review on Yelp.
That's an actual threat too.
That's an actual threat. And sadly enough, for some people think it actually carries weight. And I pity business owners who buy
care
into
about
that.
Yelp reviews.
But we're at the age of the internet where shit like this happens all the time, man. These social media influencers, want a free hotel stay at a 5-star resort for a weekend, $1,500, $2,000, and hey, we'll post something on Instagram and tag you. For what? Who fucking cares?
Yeah, really.
Because quite honestly, if you look at social media influencers,
they bought their followers.
The people who follow them can't afford their lifestyle. So what the fuck good is it to tag, some luxury resort for your, 500,000 followers who are working at Target making $15 an hour?
Yeah, it's not going to do anything.
They can't afford to they can't afford to fly off to the Caribbean for the weekend like you. It's the Kardashians of the world that we have to thank for that shit.
Nah, for sure. But, there is something that I do want to talk to you about. You mentioned some of the radio idols you had, some of the people you looked up to before you got in it. But, where did you start out with radio? You gave me what you wanted to get in. You gave me why you wanted to get into it, but where did it start?
It would be physically?
Yeah. For me, it started full time with pop radio. So.
Well, welcome to the club, man. It's a fun club to be in, isn't it?
Oh, hell yeah. I've been working at it for 4 years. It's about time.
And you definitely started in the right place because at least, for now, internet radio doesn't have to answer to the FCC.
Oh, hell yeah. That's why I love this.
Yeah, we don't have to, I like to watch what I say on air just,
of course,
because, the days of, potty mouth shock jocks are long gone. That shit was cutting edge, late 70s, early 80s, but that's just not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
There's no point in being a foul mouth because, it doesn't do anything. But it's nice to be able if an F-bomb slips out every now and then, you don't have to freak out that the FCC is going to pull the station's license.
Yeah.
Internet radio is still very uncharted territory. Eventually they're going to start cracking down on it, but for now,
now we're okay.
Yeah.
Then we got to,
and it's, the antithesis of corporate radio. You look at iHeartMedia or, Cumulus or Alpha or, any of those big, chains of radio stations that have just all these dumbass rules, you can only talk for 30 seconds here. There's all these things that you cannot talk about. You cannot talk about politics or social issues. So it's basically just shut up, introduce a song, announce an event, push play.
Yeah.
What the fuck fun is that for?
I interned at PST back when I was still in college, 94.5. It's up in Princeton over here. And, it was crazy to me because of all the things they couldn't say, and not even anything you mentioned. You couldn't even call the Super Bowl the Super Bowl. That's what really stuck with me. You had to call it something like the big game.
Yeah.
All the little shit, that corporate radio stations get picky about. It's insane. Yeah. I don't even know how some people remember all of it.
Well, the FCC has the 7 deadly sins, the 7 words that you could.
Ruben.
And then.
Ruben, is he still there?
Up with things you can't say, but I've dealt with weird rules Russia. It was, huh?
No, I couldn't hear you for a second. You just froze.
Who are we missing?
No, we're not missing anybody now. You froze for a second, but we're good.
All right. Now, so we're talking about when we launched the English station in Russia. Of course, Russia has the same general rules. There are certain things you couldn't say on air, certain Russian words. But all the words were Russian. So when we kicked off that station, I'll be honest, man. I went straight to I regret straight to being 13 years old and was fuck this, fuck you, fuck that guy. So they caught on to what we were saying, and then they came in and they were like, you can't say that, and they tried to hit me at that point what would have been about a $1,500 fine. It's 50,000 rubles for saying fuck on air, and I'm like, show me where it is on the list. The guy snatches the list out of my hand, writes it on there, throws it back at me. I'm like, okay, well, now it's on the list. But you can't find me for saying something that, wasn't on the list 5 minutes ago. But they still tried to. But, thankfully my boss, my boss liked me, so created a lot of interesting conflicts because my boss at that time was the general deputy director of Vegetanica, which is like all Russian media. I mean, Russia controls all television, all radio. They've got their hands in it. And you have to have like this little room for these state employees who just sit there and monitor everything that's said or goes out over the airwaves or on TV. They're basically just like the watchdogs, and they report back to the government. What violations happen and fines and all this kind of shit. So we were constantly pushing the envelope with those guys, just to fuck with them, man, just to see what we could get away with. And I mean, I remember, we had some girl who saw that we had posted like pictures of the station T-shirt on our Facebook page. So she texted in like, hey, how can I get one of those T-shirts? So I asked her on air. I was like, well, are you hot? Send me a pic. So she texted a pic into the station. I'm like, all right, fair enough. You're hot. Tell you what, you want a T-shirt? Come to the station. I'll put your name down at the door because everybody has to get checked in because they're technically government buildings. You come up to the studio. You change into that T-shirt live on air. Let me describe how it is, and I'll give you the T-shirt, and I'll even throw in a hat.
I think you told me this story actually.
Yeah,
I think that was like the first week I was at the station.
Changed into the T-shirt, like I was like, do you want to say hi to any of your friends on air? She's like, no, I'm shy. I'd rather just take my clothes off and go. I'm shy. I'd rather just take my clothes off. Okay.
That's the thing with Russian people that you actually explained to me. They don't give a shit about stuff like that.
No, they really don't.
Yeah.
Then that whole thing kicked off. Like, suddenly, I was getting girls texting in all the time. Because we ended up posting a video to like a private Facebook group that we had that was closed. It was like, we warned everybody it was like 18 plus, and people had to ask to join it. Like, so we would vet people and see, who was trying to join it. And then it became like a Friday tradition.
Yeah.
And then when our little, guy in the office who reported to the government figured out what we were doing, and then he comes back, he's like, you can't have that stuff on air before 11 p.m. So I'm like, all right, fine. So, I sat down with my boss and we decided, okay, Friday nights from 11 p.m. until 2 a.m., we're going to call it Naughty Friday. And we're going to get girls to come in here and fucking strip. And, and then all of a sudden we had like a strip club that wasn't far from the studio, heard the show, and they like,
they sponsored it.
How can we be involved? They're like, okay, well, you give us, this much money every month, and every Friday night you need to send me at least 2 girls. And the 2 girls would come in, talk about being strippers and stuff like that. We make a little video of them dancing around the studio, whatever. And then they would promote the club and then tell everybody, like, okay, you come to Golden Girls right now and say that you heard it on Moscow FM, you get free entry and a free drink.
Let it. Hold on. Let's talk about this too while we're at it. It's not really like frowned upon here. Like, it's not really frowned upon there like it is here either. That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, there, strippers over on that side of the world are just what you imagine strippers would be here. Like,
yeah,
they're literally just like, young uni students who are just like, look, man, I know I'm hot. And if some guy wants to pay me thousands of rubles to look at me naked and buy me drinks, why do I care?
Yeah. It's looked at as a good trade-off over there. While here, people get shit for being strippers over here.
Well, I mean, stripping in the U.S. is really kind of, it's not what it used to be. Sadly enough, these days, the average strip club you walk into, at least half the girls there are there because, they have no other choice. They're at rock bottom.
All right, so that's kind of basically the difference, you think?
Yeah, No, I mean,
All
like,
right.
you know, if you go to like, you know, the strip club I'm talking about as an example, if you go to like their Facebook page, the girls that are on that Facebook page are the girls that work there.
Right.
You know, you see strip clubs advertising in the US, you know, you see like, you know, billboards on their Facebook page, they're usually using like, you know, stock photos of like,
Yeah.
you know, some
All
lingerie
right.
model. You know, you don't see like, you know, because none of the girls there that work there want to know that people want, you know, they're hiding the fact that they're working there.
Because they didn't choose this.
You know, they're like, I don't want my parents to know this is what I'm doing now. You know, I don't want my friends and family to know. You know, girls in Russia are just like, you know, they brag about it, man. They're like, I'm a dancer, but, you know, I make fucking 200,000 rubles a night, you know, showing off my naked body to some guy who, you know, doesn't get to sleep with me.
Yeah. But it's, you know, it's kind of funny because I've done shows, you know, in different, you know, places throughout, you know, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. And, you know, some of them, you know, of course, been in comedy clubs, you know, some in restaurants, you know, there's been coffee houses. I know about people that have done them in laundromats. You know, people started doing shows in the subways during the pandemic, and sometimes they'd be the only people on the subway, which would really throw me the fuck off. But, you know, I think probably one of the best places I've done comedy is at the strip club. You know, when they actually manage to get like a good crowd in the backyard, because that's where the setup is. That's where all the talented motherfuckers who can't dance go. They just get put out in the back. And it's kind of fun, and it's kind of funny, and it makes a lot of sense because we're the only people there that are performing and don't get money at the end of the night. So, but that's, you know, where I've done, you know, quite a few shows, especially, you know, during COVID, because that's basically when it started, when everything opened back up. You know, they got shows going over there. You know, they would have different open mics. Sometimes they would get a crowd. And when that place gets a crowd, man, it's a lot of fun because you can make fun of us doing comedy at the strip club, you know, anybody that works there. And it's a good environment to do comedy. And it was surprising for me. You know what's funny too? Eli.
I'm surprised more strip clubs don't like kind of warm everything up with stand up. I mean, for me, stand up and strippers kind of should be like, you know, why wouldn't you have stand up in a strip club, warm the crowd up a little bit?
I don't know, because I feel like everybody goes there to see the strippers, and I think I think when you go up there, it's like, you know, they're not there to see you. So I think that's kind of why, you know, it is the way it is. But I'll tell you this, I told Eli about it, right? And now me and him were talking for a little while. He wants to do a show at a strip club by him because he lives in Long Island. So there was one that he lives by that he always used to go to. And he was thinking about doing it over there for a little bit.
Make it happen, man.
Yeah. I told him if he changed.
I think you guys would be surprised how good it goes together.
I mean, we might be. I mean, I know the only difficulty for him is, you know, his girl wasn't liking the idea, and, you know, he didn't want the drama. But, you know, we ended up talking a little bit about it.
Eli, the Woken comedian Velasquez, is a little bitch. Interesting.
I wish he was here. I wish he was here.
Okay, so he's definitely not the one that wears the pants in that relationship. Boy, I hope he texts in again this week.
He will eventually. I know he will.
Oh, I hope so, man. Because I'm going to let everybody know that he lets his woman run him around.
Hey, man. Look. I'm giving you more.
Is it woke to wear the skirt in that relationship?
I'm giving you more comedians to troll every day. You got him. You got Bob Pearsall now.
Does he make his girlfriend sandwiches every day?
He makes it before anything happens.
I bet you she has him make sandwiches for
her. I'm buying.
Like, yo, Eli, bitch, get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich.
With the cookies on the side, put the toothpick in it.
There you go.
I've given you more comedians to troll, man. You got Eli, you got Bob Pearsall now. After today.
Yeah, I mean, I like what he did though. I mean, he was going for obscure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody else sent in Ghana as a country to
Some
talk
people
about
went
stuff.
weird. Some people went like Kazakhstan, but Kazakhstan's
Right.
a former CIS country. It's basically just southern Russia. So,
Okay.
of course, I did Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
have you been there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I've got a friend who lives in New York now, who's from Uzbekistan.
Okay. Gotcha. I mean, 'cause
Yeah, I
the
knew
only
her.
one.
She worked with me in Moscow for a bit, and now the last I heard, she was working for Virgin Atlantic, but that was before COVID, and I think she got laid off, which is
Right.
weird considering how much money Virgin Atlantic took, for that PPE shit, and still managed to lay off a shit ton of fucking workers. That's fucked up.
Yeah. That is fucked up. But the only country that I know of that you told me you haven't been to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I remember. The only one I think I heard was North Korea.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen it. I've been close to it.
You've been close enough to see it, and that's all you wanted, you said.
Yeah. I mean, we went to the DMZ in South Korea where you can actually just basically look over a huge field and there's North Korea,
Right.
It's really weird because right across the DMZ from South Korea in North Korea is this little town, and it's painted up very everything's all pretty and shit, but it's all empty buildings. It's just this whole fake village that's supposed to be super attractive. So they're trying to convince South Koreans that hey, come over to North Korea. But it's actually just a shit village. It's the same as Pyongyang. They have this huge fucking hotel in the middle of Pyongyang that they never actually finished. There's no rooms available in it. It's just basically this hollow shell because they started it and then ran out of money because they're North Korea and they suck.
Right. I don't want to make you tell too many stories about countries you've been to. So are there any that you haven't been to that you still want to go to?
Nah, I mean, I've been everywhere I want to be. Now it's just, the ones I want to go back to.
Okay. And that's pretty much what you're waiting for.
Yeah. God, I want to travel again.
Wait, Hong Kong is one of them, right?
Well, Hong Kong, I don't think I can go back. Because now Hong Kong is now under Chinese rule, and I'm not allowed in China.
That's right.
So that's kind of sad. Because I like Hong Kong. Hong Kong's fun. I mean, Hong Kong's crazy as shit. But, then you can just, you go to Japan and get almost the same experience.
Right.
Hong Kong's just one of those places where, it's basically a small island, and they run out of land. So they just build up and up and up and up and up and up and up, so you get these, huge office buildings, huge apartment buildings, and, and there's a lot of history there from when it was ruled by the Brits and, shit like that.
That's cool, though.
That's one thing I really believe that everybody needs to get the fuck out of the United States at some point.
Yeah.
See the world, man. Go see, history, man. I mean, go look at, the Roman Parliament buildings that are still in use today that have been standing for, over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking government buildings that people still use on a daily basis. The average person has an office there that 3 times as old as our country is.
Yeah. Okay. But when you say people need to get out of the country, you mean in their adult life, right? Because I still need to do that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people need to get out.
Okay.
This is where half the problem that we have in this country, man. It's every person that you see on Facebook or Parlor or any of these just ultra right wing nut jobs. Chances are they've never been out of the United States. Chances are they've never been out of their fucking hometown.
That's usually true.
You cannot travel the world and come back to the U.S. and be racist because you've experienced far too many other cultures, listened to far too many other languages, eaten far too many weird fucking foods to, come back and eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on white bread and be a racist asshole.
But I think the problem with that though, I think is, they don't want to. I think there's a lot of people that, just don't want to experience anything outside of their little bubble because it makes them uncomfortable, which I think is the sad part to me.
Yeah, because, they enjoy being a racist, or they enjoy being an asshole. They enjoy being a nationalist,
Basically. All right. But, talk to me a little bit about Finland, though, because, you got to talk a lot about Russia. I feel like, I've heard a little bit less about Finland and a little bit more about Russia. So talk to me about how Finland came about.
Finland is wild, man. Seriously. I mean, Finland shares a border with Russia. So you do find like a lot of Russians who want to get to Finland because, Finland's in the EU zone. And a lot of Russians don't want to be in Russia these days because, Russia's going to shit. I mean, Putin basically just, passed a new law that will allow him to remain president until 2036.
Sheesh.
So, but, Finland is literally the antithesis of Russia. I mean, there's like, when it came to like, being on air, no fucking rules. Zero. You could say whatever the fuck you wanted.
Oh,
about anything at any time. There were no bad words there, in Finnish or in English. There was no you could sit there and talk shit about the government, although you really couldn't because, the government over there is just phenomenal. When you talk about, I love the hot button topic of people here who like, socialism. Joe Biden is going to bring socialism to America. I've lived in socialist countries, man. It's really not that bad. If my tax dollars help pay for some like, 8-year-old kid with leukemia whose, mom is single and works 2 jobs to pay the bills and can't afford the life-saving treatment that he needs. If my tax dollars help that kid out, fucking great. I don't fucking care. Fantastic. Yeah. And more power to it.
Is Finland a socialist country though?
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Well, I mean, technically they're a democracy, but the social programs there, fuck, man, they're like, okay, here's one for example.
All right.
When a woman has when a couple has a child, first off, you get this big fat cash payment from the Finnish government for procreating, go you. And then you have to look this up on the internet. Look up Finnish baby box.
Is that what this is, basically?
Yeah, they send you a box and it has all this stuff in for your kid, like, some onesies and blankets and, diapers and all this shit. And the box is also what, like, the kid sleeps in for the first, like, year of its life. Right? Yeah. So now, after the couple's had a kid, the mother can take 1 year maternity leave at 100% of her salary.
Nice.
Then she can take a second year off at 75% of her salary. Then she can take a third year at 50% of her salary. Then
that ain't bad.
The father can do the exact same thing.
Huh.
So after the mother takes 3 years, or they can flip it however they want to do it. But either way, the Finnish government is saying, we're encouraging you to have, one parent at home at all times for the first 6 years of a child's life.
Because it needs to be watched.
Yeah. Well, and kids in Finland are fucking smart. They don't have mass shootings over there,
Yeah.
They've got a few nationalists here and there, like, the soldiers of Odin, but that, that's just, those guys are, it's a very small minority over there. But, it's a ridiculously educated country. University there is free.
Mm.
Not only that, but free university also, counts for foreigners. As long as you can, pass the exam and qualify to get in. And then once you're a uni student, then you've got free housing, student housing. You get 2 meals a day on campus, and you get 150 euros a month as a stipend just to do fucking whatever.
Just to do whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that goes
beautiful.
all the way up to getting a PhD. And if you get a PhD in Finland, they give you a top hat and a sword.
A top hat and a sword.
A top hat and a sword when you get your PhD.
That's
your PhD in Finland, they're basically telling you can go stab people.
You see, that's all I would get my PhD for. Not that fucking laminated plaque. Just give me my top hat and my fucking sword. We'll be on the way. I don't even need the piece of paper after that.
Right?
Oh, that is beautiful.
But I'm telling you, like, you know, even the government there, like, you know, if you go back to presidents, because, you know, they've got a female president now, then there was a male last time, and there was a female before that. But that previous president, the female, the woman, she used to ride the tram to work.
Oh, shit.
The president of Finland took public transportation every day.
Just casual.
No motorcade, no, like, you know, 20 Secret Service people around her. It was like she had like one cop with her, and that was it. And she literally took the tram to work 5 days a week.
You know, must have been cozy too, considering, you know, instead of having, you know, 20 Secret Service people around you all at once.
Yeah,
in comparison, anyway.
The Finns have a weird thing about personal space.
Okay.
Like, they don't like to be close to each other.
All right. So they were social.
I'm not sure what the hell that is, because, like, if you're on, like, you know, a bus or a tram or a train, you know, you've got 2 seats, right, on one side and 2 seats on the other.
Right.
If you've got one person sitting in a seat, that row is full. You know, you're standing. You know, you don't go sit next to somebody, because that freaks them the fuck out.
So they were social distancing before social distancing was cool.
Oh, yeah. When they were telling everybody, like, you know, stand 6 feet apart, Finns were like, wait, we have to move closer? So, but the flip side of that coin is the Finns have this thing, you know, Finns are big into sauna.
Okay, yeah, you told me this.
Huge thing with that, man. It's like, you know, go sit and sweat. But when you sauna naked. Okay. You cannot wear a towel into the sauna. You cannot wear a bathing suit. You cannot wear your underpants. You go in there butt ass naked. Saunas are co-ed, and saunas are public saunas are literally public saunas. They will just pile people in there until they can't fit another person in there.
And, you know,
so,
they're
you could be sitting on, like, you know, you could be sitting half on somebody's lap, some stranger's lap, butt ass naked, and that's normal. But if you sit next to somebody fully dressed on the subway, freaks them the fuck out.
See, you never told me that first part. You only told me the sauna part.
God damn, I love the Finns, man. And the Finns hate small talk too, which I love.
Nice.
The Finns, because, you know, like, after, you know, you're on air for 4 hours, you don't want to talk anymore. I could go to the bar, sit next to somebody I know, and just be like, you know, moi, and, you know, say hello, and then sit there for 2 hours and not say another word to them. And it's not awkward. It's not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, man, you know, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, just let me hang out, you know, just for a little bit myself, get my thoughts together, and I'm good.
Only Americans that feel compelled to fill silence with just inane small talk.
Yeah, sometimes you just need the silence, man. Really.
Yeah.
You know.
But, you know, again, you're standing next to somebody. They're like, "Yeah, so how about the weather? You know, see that game last night? You know, it's like, seriously, you know, shut the fuck up."
Fucking bring this up out of left field too.
But here's the thing I worry about with the pandemic ending. You know, when we're talking about, like, social stuff like that, you know, as we start getting back into, like, you know, going to sports and, you know, going to clubs and stuff like that, man, I need everybody to remember. Well, I need men to remember urinal etiquette.
Oh, fucking Christ. Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
you always skip one for starters unless they're all full.
Right. Unless they're full.
You know, if there's like 5 urinals and one person standing at one, you don't go stand right next to that person.
Yeah.
Number two, no eye contact.
No.
And no talking while you're peeing. You look straight ahead, you pee, you flush, you wash your hands, you get out. That's it.
It's all the bathroom is for.
Right.
You know, you
Except for
don't
when
you don't
like,
need to
when you see two guys go into a stall together because you know they're just going in there to do drugs.
You know what? As long as you can be quiet, it's a good excuse. You know, when they start talking too much, you know, you start suspecting shit.
Yeah.
That's not the
urinals are
place
like
for small talk
elevators, man.
anyway.
Urinals
Huh?
are like elevators. You stare straight
true.
ahead. You don't talk to people you don't know. When your floor comes up, you get off. That's it.
I like it. I do want to go back to something.
It's been over a year, so I worry that people have forgotten how to do this.
Yeah, because they're not used to it anymore.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to something you said about Finland, because, you know, when you got to Russia, you know, you mentioned you were like, F this, F that. Then you brought the girls in there, and then they tried to come down on you for all these different things. Did the Finns ever come down on you for anything, or were they just super cool the whole time?
Nope. Finns don't care, man. We never heard a peep out of them about anything we did.
Nice.
And we did a lot.
Like what? Hold on. Give me a couple examples. Just a couple, though, because I know Ruben's got to go soon.
Well, okay, so for Finland, we actually took the Friday night show up a notch.
Okay.
We actually started bringing in, like, Finnish porn stars.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was that it, or?
And, I mean, we'd bring, like, you know, 2 girls in and have them go at it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
on air.
Oh, sweet.
We'd cue up the mics and let them start going to town on each other. And
I don't think I've ever heard radio porn before.
It's something because, you know, we had to sit them down and like, okay, look, you know, I want you to do what y'all do normally, but I just need you to be a little more vocal about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and if you're enjoying it.
Yeah, because it's going to be picked up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, thankfully we had a big studio desk, so we had plenty of room for them to do what they were doing, you know. And, like, feel free to explore the space and shit like that, you know, and you know.
Gotcha.
No, that, you know, we would, like, you know, take the piss out of, like, the Finnish government occasionally when we felt like they did something wrong, which is something you couldn't do in Russia. I mean, you know, shit. I mean, I once got locked up in Russia for saying something kind of off the cuff about the city of Moscow government.
Oh, right.
I got disappeared for almost 24 hours.
Sheesh.
I mean, they literally just took me out of the studio, dropped me in a jail cell in Lubyanka, and didn't fucking tell anybody where I was.
How'd you end up getting out?
My boss finally figured out what had happened to me.
Oh, shit.
And, you know, my boss, again, at that time, Deputy General Director of Vegetatica, you know, he was more powerful than the mayor of Moscow. So, you know, in Russia, it's all about, like, you know, who you know. They call it a krisha, which, you know,
Right.
literally translates to ceiling or roof, but it's basically like, you know, who's above you that's watching out for you. And, you know, who has the more influential krisha. And in that circumstance, well, it turns out mine was more important. So, and mine really liked me.
I was about to say, as long as it worked out, man, because you'd still be sitting in a jail cell in Russia.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. But, you know, that is the end of the show for the roundtable this week on HamiltonRadio.net. Channel HR2. Why the hell do I have 40 Instagram notifications? Might have to do with the Finnish porn stars, but that means I'm doing something right if it's because somebody's offended. But
please text me and let me know if somebody got offended. I really want to know.
I know, but Pete, I want to thank you, man, for coming on tonight, especially after a long day at the studio, man. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Anytime. It's fun.
All right, everybody, that's it for the roundtable this week on the HamiltonRadio.net channel HR2. We'll be back same time, same channel next week.
Oh,
deuces, everybody.
Tune in Monday through Friday from 3 to 7, popradio77.com.
Yes, sir. I'm there every day.
Plug it, man.
Everybody.
Plug it.
Got you.
Bada bing, you love it when I go off when you're so lost and it's so awesome. I get it cause I am from where the stars from. I'm Martian, the boogie down's the motherland. Cool arcs the overlord and we are just a cover band. I love the land I'm in, but everyone's opinionated, insinuating the word and sin, only then you hate it. I'm always getting so high so you can gaze up. I'm going Super Saiyan, hence the reason that I blaze up. It's future mayhem and invasion in the game, no more mumbling. I'm actually saying something, you lame ass suckers. The beat is infinite where I'm from, and the timeline has only begun. You stunned?